Hello and welcome to our second video. This video will be looking at the library module, starting with the administration file, and we're just going to look at a couple of defaults from the control file settings and the system's defaults tab. First thing we need to look at is the untrained staff action, the drop down, and we want to set that to warn user. Moving on, we want to set up a default equipment library, and then we want to determine the collections method and the default return collections method. All of these settings are going to determine how the library system flows when we do actually log into it. Also want to look at the library code files, and having gone into this is the first screen we see, which are the equipment libraries. Next we'll look at the equipment status, and you can see that we have checkboxes here showing which statuses place the assets as available for loan. Next form are equipment collection methods, and these determine the methods that are used on collection and delivery. Next form is the equipment checklist, and these cover the checklist that will be used when items are returned to the library by the maintenance staff. And if I click on one of them, you'll see the various items that appear on the checklist appearing at the bottom of the screen. That can be subsequently edited. We're now going to come out of the administration module, and we're going to work our way across to the asset module, where we'll find the library system. Also in the asset module is the opportunity to add an asset, and that's what I'm about to do now. So this is adding an asset to the system, not to the library. So I'll use the drop downs here to first select the medical equipment library as the location where the asset is going to be added to. I'm now going to go to the model reference and find something suitable to add in. So this is as though I was purchasing a new item. First place that all goods would be booked to is the library, as I mentioned. And then what we're now doing is putting the condition as new, and I'll give it a serial number. Just want to make sure we save this record, and it's probably relevant to mention also that the system does cope with barcoding if you have labeled assets and you want to scan and add them in that way. Okay, moving quickly on, having now added the asset to the register, we want to add the asset to the library. So I've selected the assets not in a library, and I'm quickly going to use the filtering option to find the particular asset that we're looking for. There it is. So I'll swiftly select that and add to the library. Here we go. So it's now asking me which library I'm looking to add it to. Opportunity to put a bin reference in. I'll just type something in there. And finally to set a status for its immediate use or otherwise. Okay, I think that's it. We've added an asset to the asset register. We've put it in the library, and what we're now going to do is book the asset out of the library. So having selected an asset, we get to this form, and we'll use the model drop down to select the appropriate item, which in this case is Life Pack 12. We're now looking at all of the items that are in this library with the description Life Pack 12 from the model. And I use the Select tab to get into this form. So I'll select the supply method. I'll check the borrower, using the drop downs, of course. And I'll just make sure I use physiotherapy, which is our favourite demonstration department. Okay, the next thing I'll do is I'll place a value against this pending loan, and then I'll flag the request as satisfied. Next fields are the patient reference, and we could connect to a patient administration system at this point and pull the data across. But seeing this isn't set up here, we'll enter it manually with a patient reference and some details. Just excuse my rubbish typing at this point. And then the last thing I'll do is issue it. It's issued to an individual, and that way we have validation as per this pop-up. Again, I'm not sure that you can see this, but it's telling me that this member of staff isn't trained, but giving me the option to continue. That, of course, is consistent with the warn flag that we set up in the control file. Just go in and put some further notes in. And the last thing I'll do is I'll save this record and just show you that we now have a loan that's been made, and there's a loan reference being attached to the record at the top of the form. Okay, so just want to recap at this point and say that we've got an item now out on loan. The next thing to do is to return an item. So if I click on a return item now, the system will show me all of the items that are out on loan. And what I then need to do is filter that further by the specific library that we're in. So if I choose from the drop down the medical equipment library and let that refresh, what I then have are all the items out on loan from the medical equipment library. So I'll use the model reference to trim that list, refresh again, and I have 3 items of a similar description, all with the life pack. So to keep things easy, I'll choose the first one and refresh, and then I have the return asset field to populate. Again, it's probably worth mentioning that we can support barcodes at this point. And next thing I'm going to do is pick a return date of today, and then choose a collection method from the drop down list. And then we need to choose a checklist that will be applicable to the return of this item. And we have the drop down. And then we have the individual jobs applicable to that particular checklist. I have a series of checkboxes to confirm the observance of the checklist, and then we can add some separate details in if we wish as well. Next thing we'll do is we'll check the equipment status. And this is what you want to do with the asset once you've returned it to the library. And of course we've got a return status as well. Return status effectively concludes the transaction, so we'll just pick something from the drop down there. And then that concludes our transaction. Just like to draw your attention to the log job button at the bottom of the actions menu. And this gives us the opportunity to log a job at this point, prompted by the checklist and the state of the assets as it's returned. So here we have job entry form. Just run through this quickly and log the details, ultimately log the job. Okay, and here we have job sheet with a job reference number being added. Okay, what I'd now like to do is just move back a little bit into the system, pick up the reporting interface. What we have here is a reporting option that can be accessed directly from within the module. and that produces a shortened list of reports related to the library. So this first report is the overdue equipment report, and it shows the items that are overdue together with their due return date. Just returning to the reports menu, scroll down, I'll pick another report. This one's the asset valuation report, just coming to screen now. And in my data this runs to 39 pages showing all of the assets with costs and revenue next to them. Just going to apply a separate filter to this report. The system will reissue the data, so we have information just for defibrillators. Now if we look at the model field and go with Life Pack 12, apply the filter again, we have an even more refined data set. Returning back to the menu options, we'll run another report, this time the equipment return dates. Open with the filters, it's asking us which library, medical equipment, and we'll apply some further filtering on the model number, and we'll go with Life Pack 12 as before. Turn the data on that one, and we have library items by return date as filtered and the parameters for the report. Go back to the reporting interface, choose another report, and this is activity for a library. So the filters, we'll select the appropriate library, choose a model, there we go, and run that report. Now we have a bunch of transactions by asset, in and out, and by borrower. Just scroll down, you can see some totals on the page, down towards the bottom. And because this is a landscape report, it's not that easy to see on this interface and on this view. I'll export to PDF and then we can look at it properly from there. So opens a new window, open the file. Now we can see it in all its glory. Pick up another report. This one, the list of equipment report. Remembering that we always have a description of what each report does. Apply the filter, apply the model filter. And run. Now we have a list of equipment, and I won't add a commentary to this particular report. Turn back to the interface, we have a number of loans report, date range, department, that. This report conveniently shows number of loans, periods on loan and off loan, and percentages, and income. Also have a summary version, similar report. As I mentioned, this is just the summary version. Choose the department, summary version of the early report. Okay, last but not least is an overdue equipment report. This is going to give us a list of items that are overdue for return, complete with the return due date. Since we're back at the reporting interface, just wanted to show you that those reports are also available in the main reporting module. Exactly the same reports, accessed a different way. And that concludes the video on the library system.